This week on the Analog Circle podcast, some big Red Dead Redemption 2 news could be coming up this week. Some news that was rumored at one point in time about Resident Evil 9 has now been confirmed. A new DLC could be on the way for The Witcher 3? Yeah! I was pretty blown away by this as well, but we will discuss. And some very, and I do mean, man, this has a bit of a twist to it. But some very interesting information has come out about Halo being on PlayStation. All of these stories can be found here and a whole lot more in episode 261 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and welcome to the show. Welcome. Come on in, sit down, and relax, because we're going to have a great conversation today. And if you are traveling, hopefully we can accompany you to your destination. Now, with that being said, if you want to be a part of listener feedback, you can do it two different ways. You can either email the show, and the email address is the name of the show. It is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Now, if you don't want to write in, but you want your voice to be heard, you can also do that by calling in at 667-284-9057. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news that went down. Matter of fact, before we get into the official gaming news, I do want to talk about something that I saw earlier this week about Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. So it does seem like it's going to be a bit of a difference between the PlayStation version and the Xbox version. Looks like the PlayStation version, you're going to get the monkeys, that are going to be in there, the ape escapes. They're going to be actually available on the PlayStation version, but on Xbox, that version will have Bomberman. So it's going to be two totally different ones, and it makes sense because Ape Escape is a first-party game that is under the PlayStation banner. And even though Bomberman is not first-party from Xbox, they did have a couple of games that came out on the platform. Not saying that the relationship was amazingly great, but they do have some ties to Bomberman over there on the Xbox side. So I'm sure that this is going to be it might be a very interesting thing to see who goes where. I mean, PlayStation is already winning when it comes down to the console sales. They have way more consoles sold. They have more traction than Xbox. But again, this is not a knock against Xbox. It's just what's going on right now. It's the truth of the matter. They're losing the console war. They are losing. There's no doubt about it, but it doesn't mean that they're not giving their fan base great games, that they're giving them something to cheer about. I've been on here multiple times over the last couple of weeks saying how great of a job that Xbox has been doing with their output of games. So again, I don't want it to be a situation where it seems like I'm bashing them. It just is what it is. The Xbox is like, $600 now? Prices have gone up on the Series S. It's just in a rough way. A couple of weeks ago, PlayStation had a sale where the PlayStation 5 Pro was cheaper, the PlayStation 5 was cheaper, the PSVR 2 had a price cut. I mean, they just have been doing things that have just continued to give them more and more traction versus Xbox. So again, for people that are Ape Escape fans that want to see that doggone, the siren or whatever on the top of their head, they may just want to get that Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation. And if you're a Bomberman fan, you'll want to get it on Xbox, but we shall see. But let's go ahead and let's officially get started, though, into the first story that I actually got from Games Radar. So let's start this week off again with some PlayStation news. So over the last few weeks, Sony has been putting their games on, not few weeks, I didn't mean that, over the last few years, Sony has been putting their games on PC. And during that time, we've seen game release windows get shorter and shorter. Remember, they used to be 2 years, then it got cut down to like 1.5 years, got down to a year. People are like, yeah, the games are coming. There's nothing you can do, nothing you can say. PlayStation is going to continue to shorten that window. All of the PlayStation games will be available on PC. So just get ready. Well, hold on, brothers and sisters, because that might not be the case. Because Studio Business Group CEO Herman Hulse said, and I quote, "It's important to realize that we're really thoughtful about bringing our franchises off console to reach new audiences, and that we're taking a very measured, very deliberate approach in doing that." End of quote. Now that seems to me, again, some people can say this is all speak. This is just him in his corporate bag right now. But remember, at one point in time, the thought process was, look, we'll bring some of these games over to PC to let you guys know what you are missing on day one when it comes to PlayStation releases. Maybe if we give you a little bit of a taste, maybe just a little pinch, maybe it'll hook you and it'll bring you over to the console. Remember, that was always one of the hopes and one of the concepts that they thought would work. Now, I will give it to you, PC mother lovers, man. Y'all will hold on. Y'all will not break. Y'all are very, very hard to break out of what you're trying to do. If you're on PC, that's where y'all are trying to stay. It's very hard. But the games, brothers and sisters, that's what will hook some of you. Not all of you are going to go. Some of you are going to wait. But it just proves right here that I'm saying that, it's important to realize, that, look, these games, it's intentional. We're putting them over there for a reason, so with that being said, and him saying that everything is very measured, they're just, not just throwing them over there. It's a deliberate approach that they're using to actually try to hook you guys. Now, Hulse also said this as well, and this is the key. He said, quote, we're very thoughtful about how and if, notice that, and if we bring these titles to other platforms, end of quote. And for context, this conversation actually took place during Sony's Game and Network Services segment, Fireside Chat. That's a handful, a mouthful right there. But he's saying that it's not a situation of when these games actually come into PC, but if they're going to come to PC. Now, I must say, at this moment in time, if I'm going down all of the different releases that they've released over on the PC, hot dog, they have racked up quite a few. I mean, The Last of Us is over there. The Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man 1 and 2, and I believe Miles Morales is over there. God of War 1, God of War Ragnarok, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I mean, it ain't looking good at all. I mean, it's looking pretty rough. So when Herman Hulse does say these things, that it's a matter of if, not when, somebody could definitely say, well, Herman, listen, brother, I mean, I'm looking down the list of my PC games on Steam that are under your banner, and we got a ton of them. We got Ghost of Tsushima over here. We got Death Stranding over here. Somebody could surmise that he is just talking, because right now the record just shows that what he's saying and what's happening, they're not lining up together. It just doesn't seem like it's a situation where what he's saying is actually lining up in real life as to what's going on. But I will be interested. Now we got Ghost of Yote that's coming up. We got Wolverine. I mean, God, dog, that thing seemed like a doggone unicorn right now. Thing doesn't even seem like it's real. But, I mean, we got that coming up. X-Men will be coming up a couple of years from now from Insomniac, as well as other games that'll be in the works. You know, Last of Us, maybe Part 3, maybe coming, or whatever Naughty Dog game is coming. So we will have some titles that will be released to see if what Herman Hulse is talking about actually holds true, where maybe this game goes over this time, but these 3 games stay on the PlayStation platform. And if you want to play those, you have to buy a PlayStation in order to do so. So we'll definitely keep our eyes and ears on this story as it unfolds. Let's go ahead though, guys, and let's get into the next story that I got from PlayStation Lifestyle. So we got an update. Oh man, oh boy, I don't know. I can't tell you if this is a good update or not, but we did get an update on Judas. Now, if you're not familiar with the game Judas, this is the game that's being worked on by BioShock creator Ken Levine, which BioShock was incredible. Absolutely awesome. But this is the game that he's working on. Now, like I said, this update, it's concerning. It's concerning because even though the game has not been canceled, which is good news, the development team is still looking for positions. Yes, they are looking for positions to be doggone filled. And I don't know. How the world do you have a game that has been in development? Hold on. Let's see. Let's check this out. Let's go ahead and look this up and see if we can find some information. How long has the video game Judas been worked on?
Judas, the upcoming game from BioShock creator Ken Levine's studio, Story Games, has been in development for quite a while, with its concept starting as far back as 2014. Here's a quick timeline.
Oh my goodness! You know what?
Ken Levine began discussing and explaining the ideas.
You ain't even got to go no further. 2014. Oh man, 2014. Now, I get it. Maybe it didn't start. Okay, I'm looking at it a little bit more. Seems like Ghost Story Games, which is the development team that is behind this game, seems like they actually got formed in 2017. So let's start it from 2017. You know, Judas, December of 2022 was officially revealed. Yeah, from the Game Awards and all that stuff. So this thing has been in the works for quite some time. I'll even give them 2020. I'll give them 20, even 22. It's 3 years in and you're still looking for developers. Now, this is the thing. They're looking for, as it stands, the project needs a director of gameplay engineering. Now, the job ad reads, and I quote, "We are currently working on Judas and would love for you to be on our team." Oh, I bet you would. 10 plus years experience in the gaming industry. This is what you got to have. 10 plus years of experience in the gaming industry with at least 3 shipped AAA titles. End of quote. So, man, even though the title isn't canceled, it still looks like we are going to be waiting quite a while longer for this game to release. Matter of fact, what the heck is a director of gameplay engineering? I'm sure, look, he's the one that's in charge of gameplay, but you know what? Let's see how important that role is. Let's look that up. How important is the role of a director of gameplay engineering?
The role of a director of gameplay engineering is incredibly important in game development, sitting at a critical intersection of technical leadership, creative vision, and team management. They are central to bringing the core interactive experience of a game to life. Here's why their role is so crucial. 1. Defining and driving technical vision for gameplay. They don't just code. They establish the technological direction for how the game plays. This includes determining the underlying systems and architecture for everything from player controls, character movement, combat mechanics, AI behaviors, physics interactions, and user interface elements.
Oh my gosh. God, dog. Now this is who they're looking for. This is a guy that they need on their team right now. Oh my gracious. Yeah, this guy's crucial. And they need this guy on their team because they don't have one right now. Oh, man, this game ain't coming out to 2030. Oh, my gosh, man. So if anybody like myself was looking forward to Judas because it reminded you, it made you feel like this was BioShock 2.0, man, put this thing on the absolute back burner. Because it doesn't look like we'll be getting anything from Judas or Ken Levine anytime soon. I guess the reports of this being in development H have been true. Because this right here, to need a key piece like that and you don't have it this many years in development, I get it. Some people leave. That was another thing that we did hear. That was a rumor that some of the team were getting frustrated by the way Ken Levine was actually running the studio and people weren't happy. So people allegedly were leaving. But again, according to what they need, according to what they are hiring for, it does at least give a little validity to those rumors possibly being just that much more true than we may have thought. But let's go ahead, though, guys. Let's get into the next story that I actually got from the Game Post. It will be interesting to see if Judas does make a comeback. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. So up to this point, we've heard continuous rumors about the size of GTA 6. You know, matter of fact, let's go ahead and let's do this right. Let's get this started with some rumors.
Rumor has it there's something that only I know.
So again, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to stay in the news for quite some time until we get it. You know, rumors are continuously going on and on and on. Some are going to be true. A lot of them are going to be false. But this week, you know, talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 and the rumors that are going on, you know, like I said, we've been hearing about buildings that you can go in, over 700 of them. You'll be able to rob multiple stores. You'll have a mall that you'll be able to go into, etc. But nobody has ever, this is the thing, we've heard about going to Cuba and all of these other things, but nobody has ever brought up one of the biggest parts of GTA, which you might be saying, well, what is that? And I know y'all know what it is. It's the music. The music that is in the game. Grand Theft Auto has some of the best soundtracks. It is amazing. Some of the songs that I've even actually looked up, you know, on YouTube to listen to for real, like that game song Ali Boumaier with Rick Ross and 2 Chainz. I say, God, dog, this joint is rocking right now. You know, so I looked that up along with a couple of other joints. So the radio station is very, very important, you know, in the Grand Theft Auto franchise, you know, since 3. But this is the thing. Now, this new rumor, it is coming from an unlikely but likely source. This is why I say this, because it's actually coming from Jermaine Dupri. Now, we all know JD. He's a Grammy winning producer. You know, he introduced us to Crisscross, The Brat, you know, multiple artists. This guy has a heck of a track record. So he was actually sitting down with the Rory and Mal podcast. I love that podcast. That's actually a pretty good joint. Rory and Mal. Anyway, let me get on track. But yeah, he was sitting down with them on their podcast where they started talking about video games and technology. And Jermaine Dupri, he actually said this. He said, and I quote, and it kind of, you know, it's like, man, how did they get here? But he said, quote, they asked me to do Grand Theft Auto, and they were saying like Drake got his own radio station on Grand Theft Auto, the way that they, the way that they are. But he said getting ready to do it is that Drake can actually upload music that we probably ain't never heard online or whatever else on that video game. End of quote. Now, he also mentioned that the new setup could allow artists to put out unreleased tracks exclusively in Grand Theft Auto, making the radio station feel more like real life while you're driving around. So essentially, and it's worth noting, you know, because I got to be fair, he never said this was Grand Theft Auto 6. He just simply said it was Grand Theft Auto. But this was a brand new episode of Rory and Mal. I don't think he was talking about Grand Theft Auto 3, you know, or 4 or 5, which is over 10 years old, you know. So, I mean, logically, you would just believe that he was talking about Grand Theft Auto 6. And with this kind of technology actually allowing, and this is if it's true, but allowing the artists to actually upload their own music onto Grand Theft Auto, man, oh man, that would be absolutely wild, man. That would bring such a realistic element to the game. That would mean essentially you would never have to hear the same tracks over and over and over again, that they would be constantly updating the music, the different genres, you know, rock and roll, hip hop, R&B, even if it's a jazz station. Could it also mean that, you know, those commercials that they have in the game? Could it be a situation where, I don't know if they'll get him or not, or if he would have agreed to it, but good grief, what is his name? His name is I'm blanking on his name. Golly, he's the biggest podcaster in the world, and I can't even remember the brother's name. Joe Rogan. Like if they got Joe Rogan to actually do like maybe a podcast or something like that inside of Grand Theft Auto 6, it could be a situation where he might actually be having real conversations. Now, again, I know I'm deviating a little bit because Jermaine Dupri did strictly keep it on music. But I'm thinking if they can do it with music, and if they're going to have, you know, like these talk shows that they usually have on the radio, then they would be able to do it with podcasters as well. So I'm just thinking, what if they actually took actual viral clips that might have happened, you know, during that week or that month, and actually uploaded them into Grand Theft Auto? It could literally probably make somebody actually check out that podcast, or at least that episode. So it could almost be, to a certain degree, again, if this is true, it could almost be like Apple, you know, or who else? You got Apple, you got YouTube Music, you got man, you got a bunch of them. It's always crazy to me that I can remember these different places, well, not places, but these different sites that you can go to get the music from regularly. But when I get on the microphone, I'm trying to figure out which one is which. But y'all know all of the different platforms that you can go and get your music from. It could almost be one of those situations where I'm sure that Rockstar or Take-Two would probably say, look, if you give us some exclusive tracks that you can't get over on Apple Music or, you know, any other platforms, then we'll give you this much money. And then, similar to myself, looking up different music that I've heard, you know, off of the Grand Theft Auto soundtrack. You know, the other one was Kendrick Lamar, you know, where he wasn't the main artist, but he was featured on the track. You know, that joint, I think it was Franklin's theme. That was another song. I was just listening to that like 2 weeks ago, you know, just thought about it. So, you know, thought about it and was like, man, let me drive to that a little bit. I actually love that song. So it could be a whole different situation, bringing new artists into the mainstream, maybe some older artists. Like if they had a Wu-Tang radio or just NY radio in general, like old school joints, oh my gosh, that would be incredible. Listening to Mobb Deep, The Punisher, you know, well, Big Pun, Wu-Tang, man, I mean, even though he's not from New York, but Common, you know, just that era, you know, of hip hop. Oh my gosh, that would be sensational. And it would just bring a whole different a whole different audience of people to actually check out those artists. So it'll be interesting to see if this actually is true or not. I look forward to it. Hopefully it is. I mean, this Grand Theft Auto was talking about cost $1 billion to make all of this technology. Hopefully some of that will be used to actually make the radio stations update every other month or every month or something like that. It'd just be interesting, but we will see if this actually ends up being true. But let's go ahead though, guys, and let's get into the next story that I got from IGN. So let's get into some confirmed, and this is dope, Resident Evil 9 news or Resident Evil Requiem. Man, I always say that wrong. That's why I was just trying to call it Resident Evil 9. I get tongue-tied every single time. But let's get into the news, though. So you will have, and we had heard about this. It was rumors. Maybe it's going to be true, maybe not. I said on the episode when I actually saw the trailer, I was like, oh, man, I guess it's not true. But the rumors that we heard that the game was going to be a third-person perspective view, I was like, that's dope. That's really great to hear. But when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, nah, that looked like that's all first person. Oh, well, can't win them all. But it seems like, no, you're going to have the option to do first person and third person view. Now, this feature was seen briefly during a closed doors presentation of the game when a pause menu was opened with the option to actually choose between the two. So whether you want to be in third person, you'll be able to do it like myself. But if you want to be in first person, you will also have that option. That is fantastic. Fantastic. And I could see this actually working because if I'm not mistaken, y'all know my memory is terrible, but wasn't it Resident Evil 7 that actually made it so you could actually put the game in third person, a third person perspective or first person? I think it actually came with a DLC. You had to buy the DLC in order to get that to do that, but they did give you the option. I think they're also doing this as well because I believe over in Japan, I don't think that the first person perspective I don't think people really liked it. I don't think it was received very well over there. So of course you want to make sure that you're giving your fans what they want. And with them actually giving you the option to do whatever perspective you want, you can include everybody, people that want the first person and the third person view. I'll be interested to see who the main character is. I thought it was going to be the young lady that they showed off. It's still rumblings that it's going to be not Chris Redfield, Leon. Still word that he's still going to be the main character in this one. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's going to be true or not, but we'll see. What was the name? Leon Kennedy, I believe. We'll see what happens with it though. But yeah, you will be able to be in the third person or the first person perspective. Let's get on into the next story that I got from Gamatsu. Now I'd actually forgot. Yeah, I actually forgot to mention this earlier. I think this happened maybe about a week ago, but Black Myth Wukong is coming to Xbox on August 20th. Oh, that might ring a bell. August 20th, 2025. And the reason why that might ring a bell is because it is literally 1 year later to the day that you will be able to play Black Myth Wukong on the Xbox Series brand. Now, this is the thing. The game, you can actually pre-order it on June 18th if you want to. And this is another thing. Now, this is pretty good. This is pretty dope. For digital purchases of the game on Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam, you can actually save 20% on your purchase if you pre-order the game between June 18th and July 3rd. So you can save extra 20%. Now we know we got to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to this title, because goodness gracious, people were going crazy. They were going ham about what happened with this game. So the thing is, people may think, it was a timed exclusive. This is pure. This is the reasoning right here. Why is it literally 1 year later if it wasn't for exclusive rights to the PlayStation brand? Well, I will say this. Now, whether you believe it or not, this is what game science had to say about people that feel that way, that this was a timed exclusive, and they're not supporting it because it should have been day and date with the Xbox. They said this, and I quote, they said, bringing Black Myth Wukong to Xbox Series X and S and ensuring the experience met our internal quality standards was no easy feat. Fortunately, we were able to complete this challenging task smoothly within the first year of the game's official release. End of quote.
Boo this man!
I know that's going to be the sentiment. I know it's going to be the sentiment. Some people are going to say, this is PR speak. We don't believe you. They don't understand how this was possible. It should have released on Xbox. There's no way it wasn't an exclusive. Just admit it, game science. Admit it. You took the money. You took the deal. To that, I would say, man, you could be absolutely correct. You could be 1,000% true. These companies, these corporations, the people that speak for these corporations, they will say whatever they need to in order to keep the money rolling. I get it. None of us are fooled. But I will say, just thinking about it, let's just think about it from both sides of the coin. Okay, now they're saying it wasn't an exclusivity deal. The timing does make it seem like it was an exclusivity deal. But we did hear during that time, just being fair about the situation, not saying one side is right and one side is wrong, but just thinking about during that time when Black Myth Wukong was being developed, we were hearing countless stories about how the Series S was getting harder and harder to develop for. They were having to take longer time to actually figure it out. Some games were getting delayed. Other games, it was some games that got canceled, if I'm not mistaken, where they just were like, I'm not doing this. We can't do it. But we definitely know there were multiple delays, maybe not cancellations, but delays for sure on certain titles when they came over to the Series X and S brand. So we do have that established, as a thing. And with looking at the graphics on Black Myth Wukong, God, dog, y'all really think that can run on the Series S with no hiccups, no trouble? Man, I don't know. Because think of this. Now this is another thing. Thinking about it from a technical standpoint. Again, I'm not a developer. If any developers are listening to this, I would be more than happy to hear what you guys have to say on if this was true or not, as far as the technical side of it goes with the Series S. But the latest report that's coming out right now, and this was on Digital Foundry. I actually didn't look at it. I was reading an article. Unfortunately, I can't cite the article, but you can go over to Digital Foundry and see it for yourself. But in that article, they talked about The Witcher 4 and how the development the development team is trying to aim for 60 frames per second. And when it came to them asking about the Series S being able to do the same, they even said, well, that's going to be tricky. That's going to be a little harder to do. Now, granted, they didn't say that they wouldn't be able to do it, but it's going to be tricky. It's going to take extra work. So if anything takes extra work to do, then normally it's going to take longer to actually do the work. So if that's going to be the case for The Witcher 4, which looks absolutely gorgeous, just like Black Myth Wukong, but it looks amazing and it's open world at that. So if they're saying that about that game, then I'm sure that the Series S is having complications, is having trouble, is having problems that are reoccurring with that console. So again, you have to pick for yourself, what you want to believe or not believe when it comes to game science and a year deal possibly happening or not. Me, I'm gonna lean, if I had to choose a side, I'm going to definitely lean on the side that they were having problems. They were having trouble, because just looking at how pretty that game is and how much of a technical marvel it is, God dog, man, I can't imagine it not having some problems. So I would be interested to know what you guys think about it, though. If you think they were paid off, they took the year deal, and, they went and got the money. They got to the bag. I would like to know your thoughts on that. But again, if you do want to purchase the game on Xbox, it's going to be available on August 20th. And again, get that 20% off. They're sweetening the pot. I'm sure they knew it was going to be some backlash. So they like, look, we can't just have a game come on out there with no kind of incentive. Look, we'll give you 20% off your purchase as long as you pre-order it, and you get it or pay it off by July 3rd. Get the 20% off. And that's even for PlayStation people like myself who didn't get Black Myth Wukong yet, which that does definitely sweeten the pot for me. But we'll see what happens with this in the near future, where we may get some documentation. You know how some of these guys are. They have a way of getting some documents that we're not supposed to have our eyes get exposed to. But we'll see. But let's get into the next story. Oh, this one right here. This is the one that I'm hoping is true, because we are definitely on Rumor Boulevard. Let's get into some more rumors.
Rumor has it is something that only I know.
Now, I got this from the Game Post, so things could be heating up just a little bit more, just a little bit, about Red Dead Redemption 2 if the voice actor of John Marston, his name is Rob Wythoff, I believe. It's spelled Wiethoff, Wythoff. I believe if his latest words hold true, where he revealed during a Twitch stream, and I quote, he said, "I've got such exciting news. I can't share it with you right now, and it's absolutely killing me. By the end of this week, hopefully sooner, I guess probably not as soon as tomorrow, but definitely before Friday." End of quote. Now he's up here. He's excited. He's telling people it's killing him. He wants to let you in on what's going on, but I can't do it. Now I know it's not going to be tomorrow, but hopefully, it's going to be sometime this week. Definitely before Friday. Now, if you look on the calendar, you will see that Friday is June the 20th. So we have 5 days of potentially waiting. And that's if it is true. And if it's the announcement that I'm sure all of us are hoping for it to actually be that announcement. Who knows? This brother might say that he got another voice acting gig coming up. I don't know. But, he didn't just end there with it. He also pointed out that he won't be the only one, quote, sharing it, end of quote. So we could be getting news from multiple people on that same day. Maybe it's some kind of group event. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but what I'm hoping, and I'm sure what all of us are hoping for, is that this is going to be the Red Dead Redemption 2 remake. Even if it's not a remake, even if it's a remaster, if they can get this game at 60 frames per second and a 4K resolution with faster loading times, man, shucks, sign me up. Sign me the heck up. If they could just do some extra things with the visuals. I mean, the game came out, in 2018? You're talking about 7 years. It's been 7 years of technology moving forward. I could see them, if it's Rockstar. I don't get these third-party companies. We saw how that went with Grand Theft Auto 3 and, what was it? San Andreas, and I forgot the other one, but those didn't come out. They didn't come out too good, man. It was kind of bad. So hopefully, if they're going to go out there and they're going to make this possible remake or remaster of Red Dead Redemption 2 for this generation of consoles, I want them to be the ones behind it. And maybe, just maybe, during this presentation or whatever it's going to be, because this is all possibly going to happen in this kind of way. Again, I don't know what Rob is talking about. He could be, like I said, he could be talking about he's about to be starring in a Red Dead Redemption movie or a TV show. I mean, this could go in a whole lot of different ways. He's super excited. It's getting me excited because I'm hoping that he's referring, or at least going to be talking about, what I'm excited about. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the case. So we'll just have to wait. Hopefully, like he said, hopefully not the whole week. We'll have to wait. Maybe we get something on Tuesday, Wednesday, but hopefully it's the news that we are looking for. Let me ask y'all this. Oh, man, I want to know this. How much are y'all willing to pay for a remake, not a remaster, but a remake of Red Dead Redemption 2? I mean, it's already talks that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be $100. We don't know yet, but it's definitely out there that it's going to be $100. I'm curious to know, if this came out and it was a full remake, would you pay $80 for Red Dead Redemption 2? And I know y'all got it. Like I have it. I beat it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. And I'm going to tell you, if it comes out again and it's a remake, I'm going to want to buy it again. But I'm curious to know, how much would y'all pay? Would y'all pay $80 for it? I'm going to tell you something, brothers and sisters. I'm going to tell you this. If that game comes out and it really looks like they put a little bit of polish, just a little bit of polish up on it, it's running at 60 frames and all of that good stuff, faster loading times, 4K resolution, a little bit of ray tracing in there. Oh, man, I don't know. I don't know. I might have to go ahead and buckle down, man. They might get me. If they got it for $80 and you can truly see the difference, better textures. Yeah. They might get me. They just might get me. I might have to give in to the $80 doggone price tag. But I'm curious, would y'all give in for the $80 and it's got all of the bells and whistles? Y'all let me know. I'm interested. Anyway, let's go ahead though, guys. And let's get into the next story that I got from the Game Post. So, would you believe me? Hot dog. I'm gonna say this. This kind of threw me quite a bit. But if I was to tell you, hot dog, another Witcher 3 DLC is being worked on, would you believe me? Probably say, heck no, I don't believe it. That game is old as ever. What the world are they doing making a Witcher 3 DLC? Well, listen, brothers. According to Polish YouTuber Raminguez, man, I'm gonna butcher this brother's last name. I'm gonna just spell it. It's spelled Maciaszek. Maya Kazik. I guess I ain't even gonna harp on that. Pardon me for mispronouncing your name, no brother. But according to him and multiple other sources, a new story-based DLC is in development by Fool's Theory, which Fool's Theory, interestingly, is made up of former senior developers who worked on the original game. Now, Raminguez also added that the DLC release window is sometime in, I don't know if it's true, but again, he's saying it is sometime in 2026. So that is very, very soon. We're already halfway through this year. So sometime in 2026, who knows? Now this is the thing. With these rumors, like I say, man, take all of this stuff with a mustard seed of truth, because we do know that Fool's Theory is working on the Witcher 1 remake as well. Now, whether or not, this is the other thing. We know that they're working on the Witcher 1 remake. Now, as far as this DLC goes, we don't know whether or not it's going to link up with a Witcher 4 story wise. We don't know if it's going to be maybe like a bit of a segue of, talking about what happened to Ciri and how she's in the situation that she's in, or what she's about to embark on. It's anybody's guess, if the game the DLC, if it will actually tie the two in together, like kind of like a stopgap. We don't know. But the other thing to also think about is, I know Blood and Wine and the other DLC that they made, these were pretty nice sized DLCs. And that's the thing. We don't know if this DLC is going to be on the bigger side, or if it's going to be maybe a smaller scale DLC as well. So again, like I tell you guys, take all of this with a mustard seed of truth. But if it does end up being true, this would be one heck of a stopgap, in between, because I'm thinking about it like this. What if they sold this DLC in the sense of where you don't necessarily have to own The Witcher 3 itself? You don't actually have to own that game in order to download this DLC and kind of make it a real true stopgap, of content to actually get you ready for the release of The Witcher 4. So it'll be interesting to see how they use this, how they actually market it, and on top of that, this could really be a bit of a preview as to what we can expect with The Witcher 4, because they will be working on current gen hardware, which is much, much stronger than last generation. So we could have a situation where we're getting a preview of the graphics of The Witcher 4, a bit of the storyline, some of the gameplay elements that could be in The Witcher 4. It could really be a great segue, as far as taking you into, from the old into the new, and actually just seeing the evolution of the things that they were able to do, leading up to The Witcher 4. So again, we have to see if it's true or not. Supposed to be 2026 when it releases, but only, as always, take it with a mustard seed of truth, and only time will tell. Let's go ahead though, guys, and let's get into the next story that I actually got from Games Radar. So, oh man, this was a very, very interesting one, because I'm sure this is going to go in a bit of a different direction. It definitely caught me off guard, but with Xbox going into its current direction of, bringing first party games to rival platforms, it's become less, I think I think we can all agree it's become less of a shock when we see these titles show up, on these other platforms, whether it's, PC is definitely a no-brainer, but more importantly, and as of late, PlayStation, having these games come over to PlayStation 5 is becoming less and less shocking. It's almost to the point now where it's sadly expected for it to happen. But this brings us to a data miner who actually came up with some very interesting findings. Now, his name is Grunt Dotapi. It's spelled GruntDotapi. Now, he noticed that a Halo game has now appeared on the 343 retail API. And that is specifically pegged to be a PlayStation 5 game. Now, the thing is, it has no mention of Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2 versions of this game. None of those versions could be found. Now, the user also posted that it has a new ID ruling out the chance. And this is where it really took a sharp left turn that I didn't see coming. But he said that the new ID is ruling out the chance of it being a previously existing release like the Master Chief Collection or Halo Infinite. This is not a game that is connected to either one of those, which was always the thought that, okay, if Halo's going to come over to Xbox, then they're going to give them the old stuff. They're going to give them Halo. More than likely, people thought it was going to be the collection, the Halo collection. But according to this guy, it has nothing to do with the Halo collection, and it has nothing to do with Halo Infinite, which means this could be a whole new game.
But wait, it gets worse.
This could be a whole different game. Whole new game. Now, we heard Phil Spencer. He did hint at something being Halo related, being on the way. But could this so-called Halo title that is on the way be coming to PlayStation as well? Day and date? Oh, man. I don't know. I will tell you this. If a new Halo comes out day and date on Xbox and PlayStation, man, it's gonna be some hurt mother lovers around here. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine the fans of Halo, fans of Xbox, they're gearing themselves up. They're understanding, all right, look, man, this is the direction y'all are going in. Okay, cool. I get it. Give them the old Halos. We played those joints years ago. What does it matter to us? Y'all getting our leftovers. But Phil Spencer comes out there and he ups the ante, gives a new Halo. It says, oh yeah, it's going to be available on PlayStation 5. Day and date. Oh man. Goodness gracious. It is a very interesting time in gaming. It truly, truly is. I feel like we are in bizarro world when it comes to just gaming in general. Here it is, Nintendo. I got to give them their credit as well. They went out here and I think they broke a record, selling a certain amount of Switches. Hold on. Let's see what Nintendo did, real quick. I know I was talking about Halo and Xbox, but it's really not anything else to really talk about. We'll have to see whatever's going on, whether or not it's true or not. Will there be a new Halo on PlayStation day and date with Xbox? Only time will tell. But I want to just see what Nintendo did sell, because remember, I'm on record and I'm holding to this, that the Switch 2 will not sell nearly as many copies, or I should say as many units as the original Switch. So let's see where they're at right now. As of today, how many Nintendo Switch 2s have sold?
As of today, June 15th, 2025, the Nintendo Switch 2 has sold over 3.5 million units worldwide within its first 4 days of release. It launched on June 5th, 2025. This makes it the fastest-selling Nintendo game system of all time. In the U.S. specifically, it sold over 1.1 million units during its launch week, ending June 7th, 2025, setting a new record for console launches in that region.
Dang! God dog! These jokers broke a record in June. It is June. This isn't even the holiday season. What the world? I thought we were in a recession right now. That many people. Golly. 1.1 million units. 3.5 million units worldwide within the first 4 days. Sheesh, I don't know, man. Man, darn all that. All right, cool. Okay, cool. I'm standing firm. Yeah, the first week, first couple days, you got your diehards, you got your people that's been fiending to get their hands on the Switch 2. I'm not, man. I'm standing on my square. Yeah, y'all had a dope week. Y'all might have broke a record. That's great. That's all nice and cool and well. But let's see if you can do it 6 months in. Let's see how you're moving then. Now, I will say, now listen, you know, when the holiday season come up, man, if these jokers start selling out yet again in the holiday months, and I mean, they moving at a good clip, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to be feeling. I don't know. I'm going to give it a year. Because by that time, it'll be enough data out there. We'll be able to compare it to the original Switch within its first year and the Switch 2 within its first year. We'll be able to get some hard data and be able to understand exactly where it's tracking. But speaking of that, even tracking, these are all things I haven't written down, but just very quickly talking about, PlayStation has been making a grip. I don't know the exact numbers, but PlayStation 5 has made major profits this generation. Matter of fact, we can look it up. How much has the PlayStation 5 made in profits this generation?
According to Sony's latest financial reports, the PlayStation 5 generation has been incredibly profitable for the company. As of recent data, around June 2025, Sony has reconfirmed that the PS5 ecosystem is their most profitable console generation of all time. Specifically, the PlayStation 5 generation has generated over $136 billion in revenue over its first 5 fiscal years. From these sales, Sony has made $13 billion in operating profit. This indicates a profit margin of approximately 9.5% for the PS5 generation. For comparison, it took the PlayStation 4 7 fiscal years to achieve $107 billion in sales, showing the rapid financial success of the PS5 era. This success is attributed to a large library of third-party games, a high number of monthly active users, and strong content and service revenues, like PlayStation Plus.
Goodness gracious. Man, these jokers getting cake. They got the whole darn bakery. So for people that want to continue, man, do you want to continue on the road where you say the PlayStation they can't afford to keep the games off of Xbox? They got to put them on Nintendo. They got to put them on the Xbox brand because they are dying financially. They can't do it. They just don't have the money. They don't have the finances to be able to keep their games off of Nintendo and Xbox because they're going to be drowning financially. All I can say is, did you hear those doggone numbers, brothers and sisters? For any of y'all that thought that PlayStation 5 was in trouble, man, they have made this money, this generation, way faster. What did it say? It took them 7 years to get to this point. And they already got $136 billion in sales revenue over its first 5 fiscal years. 136 billion. And these jokers are on a tear. Anyway, man. Anyway, shout out to PlayStation. Shout out to Nintendo. Y'all out here getting to the bag. That's all I can say. But let's go ahead, though, guys, and let's get into the final story for this week. And I got it from Insider Gaming. Now, I talked about this briefly in the last episode. I think I recorded that on Wednesday. I talked about it briefly, but I didn't really get into any detail. But what I'm referring to is Sony Bend. So Sony Bend has unfortunately laid off around 30% of their staff, which that equates to around about 40 people. Yeah, I know. I thought it would have been a lot more than that, but I guess that it's bad, but you know, at least it's 40 people. So, you know, it could be worse. I'll put it that way. It's never great to hear of anybody losing their job. It truly is not, especially in the economic problems that we have today. But doggone, you can't tell, about, going off of Nintendo numbers and PlayStation numbers. Man, the economy should be booming right now. God, they sold that many units in June. I can't get over that. That is a flex. I give Nintendo that. That is a big flex, even though the fan base and all of that stuff, of course, they're going to support it, but I can't belittle that. That's pretty darn huge in the first 4 days. That's amazing. But anyway, getting to these guys over there at Sony Bend. So again, they're unfortunately laying off 30% of their staff. Like I said, which comes out to about 40 people. Now, this report comes from Insider, and he has a real good track record, Jason Schreier. Now, Schreier also said, and I quote, now this was good news, to go along with the bad. He said the studio has been spinning up a new project following the cancellation, end of quote. So a lot of us, if you're like myself, man, you are hoping that whatever project that they got in the works, it is a Days Gone 2, because I said it and I stand on it. Days Gone is a masterpiece. 9 out of 10. That story, the way it weaves in and out of different scenarios and things that are going on, I'm not going to spoil it. Oh, no, sir. Because that was like one of the best stories, man. Anyway. Listen, I'm hoping, I am really hoping that whatever this project is, because thankfully they did stop making that online, service-based game that got cut, that got canceled. So hopefully they will let Sony Bend get back to what they do and let them do a Days Gone 2, which I think it would be incredible. So much room for growth. They did so many things right in that game. Yeah, it was messed up at the beginning of it, which really tore it out the frame when it came to getting great reviews and things of that nature. But man, what a awesome game. But anyway, with that being said, someone did ask Jason Schreier this, which does make sense. He asked them, and I quote, it's not a quote, but he was basically asking if the studio was in risk of being shut down. Now, to that, Schreier said, and this is a quote, he said, quote, unlikely they'd have laid off 30% of the staff if they were going to close the studio, end of quote. So it seems like, and of course, Jason Schreier, he doesn't work for PlayStation. He doesn't work for Sony. So he has no real way of knowing what they're going to do. They could definitely do that. Hopefully they don't. Oh my gosh, I hope they don't. But it's no guarantees. But it does make sense that if they were planning on shutting down the entire studio, that they would have did more than just fire 30% of the staff. So hopefully with that being the case that, unfortunately, that many people are being let go, but with them actually working on a new project, hopefully they will be able to stay around. They'll be able to make a Days Gone Part 2 and we can get back into some of this motorcycle riding open world situation that's going on where almost spoiled it, God dog. It's just, if you saw anyway, all right, that's it. I'm not going to say any more about Days Gone 2. It was awesome, though. But anyway, with that being said, hopefully we get this new project, from Sony Bend. Next month, PlayStation is having some kind of show, whether it's another state of play or if they actually have a showcase, because they're going to be showing off Ghosts of Yote, during that time. We'll see what happens, but I wouldn't hold my breath, but we'll see. Anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week, which leads us into our final section of the podcast. And of course, it is the question that I have to ask you guys of the week. And thank you guys for being here. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. So the question that I wanted to ask you guys is, will AI or new hardware change gaming more? Which one do you think will have a bigger impact? This AI situation, we know that it's not going anywhere. We know they're going to be implementing it into the games more and more. Of course, I have my fears, as far as like gaming goes and the creativity of the video games that we play. I don't know how it's going to come out, if it's going to be kind of stale, if it's going to be missing that human element into the game, the writing, who knows how that's going to be. And of course, we know that the AI is going to be used in different aspects of making the games. Now, we don't know if they're going to be if the AI, is going to be writing the script. We don't know if it's going to be doing the voice acting. It's a lot of different things that the AI can do that we don't know how it's going to affect gaming. And I use Gemini to actually, look up the different things that I need to find. I do it every show pretty much. I'm using it, Gemini or Google, to find different facts, which is great. It's great to have it on standby to get information quickly and not have to look it up. It's great. And it really streamlines the process of being able to get to the information or to exactly what you're trying to do, which I'm sure that if you were to put that into gaming, it could be a great tool. It could possibly be an excellent tool to kind of, I guess, get rid of some of the extra programming or extra steps that the developers may have to go through. But we all know that everything has a trade-off, no matter what it is. What's going to be the trade-off when they do that? Is it going to make the game, just feel less? Like I said, I'm always worried about the human connection with these things, with gaming, and not to have AI is so robotic, it doesn't feel, it doesn't, know what it's like to be a human, those kind of things. Of course, the developers are still going to be there. I'm not trying to paint a gaming doomsday picture here. The developers will still be there. They'll still be guiding it into, doing what it needs to do. But how much of a impact is it going to have? So I'm curious to know. Usually, when it comes to consoles, we know that it's going to be a new generation. It's going to be stronger. It's going to be faster, going to be graphically better. Nowadays, loading speeds are, oh my gosh, so much better than they have ever been. So we look at the console as this is going to be an automatic upgrade. We're going to get a lot out of this. This is going to, take us to the next level, to get us even closer, to those realistic graphics, even though I got to say, God, dog, man, looking at some of these games, it's like, man, we are right there. I don't know how much further we can go graphically. I mean, of course, it's always room for improvement, but sheesh. Well, I mean, it's not really a bad looking game. Y'all saw those indie games that we saw at the Jeff Keighley show. A lot of those indies they look real impressive. Like, wow. These look real good. So we're finally getting to that point where, man, the graphics, we're gonna eventually peak eventually, and it's gonna have to go into other areas, the different things that these consoles will be able to do, but I'm just curious to know, out of the two, which one, is going to change gaming more? Do you think it's going to be the AI? Or will it be AI, or is it going to be new hardware? I'm very, very curious to know you guys' thoughts. As always, if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it two different ways. You can either email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Or if you want to call in, you can also do that by calling in at 667-284-9057. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and as always, thank you guys so much for being here. Greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, before we tie this thing up and put a bow on it, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. I have to also tell you guys this. Unfortunately, we will not be having a show on Sunday. I know. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. So we will be back at it again the following Sunday. But until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.